well, you were bitter. When did the bitterness, well, mellow down a little bit?
Oh, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now. You know. Yeah, I mean, I was just young and taking everything too seriously, and I had to take everything to an extreme. So it's like, well, Carcass is ending. I don't want to do this anymore. And the next thing for me was like, let's do something completely different. I didn't really see any reason to do another band that was like Carcass. Otherwise, we would have stayed together, you know. Yeah. Plus, to put it into context, we get some very, I don't know, well, I guess we get respect now for the stuff we did, but it wasn't really like that at the time. I mean, there's people touting the third and fourth records as being influential. That's lovely, but at the time, they weren't very popular. You know, we're just about treading water. We could play, you know, a few shows across Europe and the States, but we weren't a big band, you know.
How come people say now that it's influential?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. Presumably somebody's name checked us along the way.
Yeah, because people say grindcore, melodic deathcore, that you were maybe one of the...
Yeah. I guess we covered a bit of different ground, yeah. The early stuff's very noisy, and the later stuff is melodic. I mean, metal's so splintered. I mean, I wouldn't really want to take credit for anything, because if you speak to certain American bands who are very big, for them it all started with, say, At the Gates or In Flames. So Carcass was like, that was old music to them that wasn't even worth bothering with, you know. Yeah, I didn't even try to think about it really.
So, well, what did you do then? Did you completely stop making music for a while, or?
No, I mean, I was obsessed with music. I just didn't want to play extreme metal, you know, because I figured like I've obviously failed at doing that, and I just wanted to do something else, you know.
So, you really felt you failed?
Completely, yeah. But you know, that's just a young guy who's like got no life experience, who's just kind of, you know, going off the deep end, I guess. You know.
Yeah. And what did help you then coming to terms with that feeling?
How do you mean?
What happened that you thought, well, maybe I can reform with Carcass and maybe...
Oh, that was gradual, because the other guys were much more in touch with what was happening, because I didn't have any real contact with the extreme metal world for ages. So in my mind, it was just done for us. And then both Michael and Jeff were occasionally mentioning to me that the band still had a sizable following. And yeah, I was very cynical at first, but gradually they kind of, I guess, persuaded me, you know, that there was enough interest for us to play again. And then the clincher was just actually picking up a guitar in that tuning with loads of distortion, playing Carcass riffs, which I hadn't done for so many years. That was like what sealed it, because I was worried like, oh, this would be really hard or it won't be natural, but it was easy. You know, it was a lot of fun to do it. So it's a very different thing from playing any other style of music. It just takes you somewhere else mentally, you know. But and it's a very physical thing to do. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm like, you know, it was a challenge, but it felt very good, because a lot of those riffs are just programmed into me from years of playing them as a youngster. You know?
Yeah. What day or date was it that you played again? Those riffs?
I actually can't really remember. I really can't. But it's going back. I'm trying to think when we officially reformed. Like, was it 2007, 2008? Yeah. Yeah. There were a few different attempts to get us together, but it's around that period that it actually happened. You know.
And well, you said they had to persuade you. What was the biggest persuasion? What really?
Well, it had to be the playing, because if I couldn't do it convincingly, then, you know, forget it. And I guess had convinced myself, oh yeah, you can't play that stuff anymore, you know, because I've been saying it for so many years. After a while, it's a mantra, and you have it in your head, and you really believe it.
But what did you play then?
What do you mean?
between those two Carcass periods? I think you had another band.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for a few years, I wasn't really in a band as such. I was playing every day and working on music, but I mean, I was just in a different universe. You know, I was listening to blues music and early rock, and trying to get some of that into my fingers. I'd never played slide guitar before. That was a fun thing to try and learn. Harmonica. I mean, it sounds mental to a lot of metal people, obviously, but at the time that felt like the right thing to do, because I just wanted to strip my music down and be able to actually play a note and sit on it and make it say something, which I'd never really done before. And after a few years of that, and then doing my own band Firebird and stuff, it almost felt like this was an escape and a bit of freedom. Initially, that was the freedom, but now this, you know, you can't play any kind of music without having parameters. That's how it is.
But you said this was the escape, but in what way?
Sorry?
You said that, well, the second period of Carcass felt like an escape again.
Oh no, because I've been doing Firebird for years.
Okay.
And initially that was very liberating.
Yeah.
But, you know, sooner or later you realise you are kind of a genre band, just like the last band you were in.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was actually quite liberating to just crank up and play full-on metal again.
What did you, the first time that you played, well, the songs from those albums, what did you think about, well, the work that you'd done almost more than 10 years before?
I don't know, I was really enjoying it, and the fact that people wanted to see it was killer, you know. Yeah, it was really good.
And now you're 7 years later, you're still playing it?
Yeah.
Even longer than the first period, almost? Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. Yeah.
How come?
What do you mean?
How come you're playing it longer now than
But I guess that's just how it is. But also, this phase of the band, there's two distinct kind of periods. There's the reunion period, which was Jeff and myself and Michael and Daniel from Arch Enemy. And that was all about just playing reunion shows, which is a really fun thing to do. But at the back of your mind, there's something missing, because I like to feel like whatever I'm doing has a future. Even if it's short term, something, a way forward. And you don't really have that if you're only playing very old material. So when that lineup ended, Jeff and I talked about writing material, which I'd wanted to do from the outset. I mean, Christ, if we're going to reform the band, I thought we should do the whole thing, not just a half-baked, like, oh, let's do some reunion, you know, stuff. But it wasn't really possible at that point due to the lineup. But yeah, I mean, that just opened everything up, because suddenly it feels like a current band when you have a new album.
Yeah. And if you compare, let's say, the last album, Surgical Steel, with your previous work, can you say that it, for you, what does it feel like? It's really different now, or?
Yeah, because I'm a lot older, and it's a different lineup. But it's very hard to make comparisons, and also the audience has changed so much. You know, as I said earlier, it's weird having people in the audience that are like Carcass fans, because we didn't really have that. We used to just play for the death metal audience, and it could be a good night or it could be a crap night, but you wouldn't really. It was quite a rare thing to come across somebody who was like really into our band, you know. That's why it's different now.
When did that change, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe when we were away. I'm not sure. Yeah.
But it must have been really flattering now then.
Yeah, massively, of course. Yeah, it's really nice, because you feel like, well, all the stuff we did wasn't a waste of time, and it's lasted, which is just lovely. Yeah.
And what was it like for you to write songs again for this band, metal songs? And
well, that was another thing that was just a real buzz, because I guess I looked at it as a big challenge, really, because it's almost like, what's the word? It's taboo, really. You know, a band of that vintage coming back and doing a record after, I'm not sure what the layoff was, 16 or 17 years or something. I don't think there's a very strong track record of groups doing that. But Jeff and I were, whatever you want to say, deluded enough or confident enough to think we could do it. Early on, we just said, look, let's write some tunes. And if it doesn't really feel or sound like Carcass, no one needs to hear this stuff. It was very easy to get into this because nobody knew we were writing. This was just between Jeff and myself and Dan, our drummer. But it felt very good really quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we just blazed through it. It was so much fun to do, and we almost had to stop because we could have gone on longer. We got to, however many songs it was, and we realized we had more than enough for an album, plus bonus tracks. So we thought, let's just work on those, craft them, because there was loads of ideas. Yeah.
And what I wonder, did you stay in touch with Jeff when you were out of the band?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think relations between all of us got better once the band broke up. So yeah, we were all staying in touch. Yeah.
But that's sometimes you don't, but for you it did, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, any plans for new material? Or?
Well, I wouldn't say there are plans, but we'd like to do some. It's just impossible at the moment because we've got bookings right up until November. But I would say at some point we'll get together and start, jamming on a few riffs and take it from there. We're not going to rush anything because if we do a new record, it has to be valid. We can't repeat the exact same recipe as the last record.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a fortunate thing. The riffs we had and Jeff's vocals and the way we put it all together, it seems to have worked really well. That's great, but we can't do exactly the same thing again. And we're not the kind of people to plan and discuss and analyze too much, so we just have to get together in the rehearsal place, like we always do, and hack through all the available material and see what we come up with.
Will you be planning your 30th anniversary?
Yeah, I don't even think about that. It's frightening. That's very frightening.
Yeah, because it's almost, you said the early incarnation was 1985?
Yeah, that's true. But that's pre-Jeff, and obviously he's,
Okay.
Pivotal member. That was just myself and Ken, before Ken played drums. He was the vocalist back then. And a couple of school friends, yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Cool.
Yeah.